Hi, and welcome back to the second hour of A Focal Point on AFR Talk. Brian Fisher is my name. The program Focal Point Network is American Family Radio Talk Network, AFR Talk. You are listening to Focal Point, the home of high-definition radio on your radio dial. More content per cubic inch of air than any other place on your radio dial. I don't know if you saw this from Missouri. They had a spelling bee, and it ended in a tie because they ran out of words. You know, after 19 rounds in this spelling bee, there were only 2 out of the 25 original contestants who were still standing. So they got to have a runoff between these 2 spellers. They went for 47 additional rounds. Each one of those spellers had to spell 47 additional words. 66 rounds altogether. They literally ran out of words because neither one of these contestants, an 11-year-old and a 13-year-old, misspelled a single solitary word. They took a break for lunch, and the officials went into the school cafeteria. They fished out the Merriam-Webster dictionary and just made up a fresh list of 20 words kind of on the spot. And then they decided after they went 66 rounds, look, it really wouldn't be fair. One of these kids could draw a really tough word at random. The other one get an easy word. Better not do that. And they had used the approved list that was provided by the National Spelling Bee people. The Scripps National Spelling Bee just completely ran out of words. So I guess, I don't know what they're going to do here. Let's see if I get to the, they're going to resume it March 8 at an undetermined library site. So they're going to get some more words and have a runoff. And here are the words that were, among the words that were spelled. And so, Wesley, I'm going to give you one. Jeff, I'm going to give you one. And Rob, I'm going to give you one. I'm going to exempt myself because I'm like the host, so I don't have to make myself look like a fool. So, Wesley, you got time here. I want you to spell the word scherzo. Jeff, you get the word fantoccini. And Rob, you get the word intaglio. And I want to tell you, I got no idea what those words mean. I have no idea whether I'm even pronouncing them correctly. But
they sound like pastas.
Jeff says they sound like pastas. Okay, we'll accept that as an answer. Now, here's a second round of words. In case you get those, Wesley, you get yours right, Jeff. You get yours right, Rob. We have Schadenfreude, Mahout, and Baruchzi. So we'll have the Focal Point legendary spell off here sometime later in the decade. Give my team time to study up on fantoccini, which is not a pasta, Jeff. I'm willing to bet. Anyway, let's grab one more call to start this hour. Let's go to Darren in Little Rock, Arkansas. Darren from Little Rock, Arkansas. Welcome, Darren. What's on your mind?
I just had 2 quick things, Brian. First of all, just regarding the FCC suspending this invasion.
Yeah.
I'll just say one thing. If you like your newsroom, you can keep your newsroom, Brian.
Yeah, that's good. And I'm sure that promise means just about as much as the original promise that Obama made about health care.
I'm sure it does. Well, the main reason I called is just I was a little concerned over this proposed new cut to the military because it seems like we're – sorry, my radio came on there. It seems like we're more focused on down our military in protecting us from other countries and outside forces. However, we're building up our police state here. I'm more afraid of our own government right now than I am outside forces.
Well, and I think I'm with you there, Darren. We had that story last week where Department of Homeland Security, I think it was, they're ordering up another 700 million, I think it was, rounds of ammunition. They're ordering up like 2,700 rounds for everyone who is a part of Department of Homeland Security. Darren, we've seen these stories about local police forces getting these light armored tanks. 2,717 of those light armored tanks are now in the hands of local police forces. Department of Homeland Security is really turning into sort of a nationally militarized law enforcement force. And, part of the distinction, Darren, in our form of government is that the military, the federal government, has one purpose, and that is to protect us from foreign enemies, from foreign invaders, from foreign threats. The responsibility to protect internal security, the responsibility for law enforcement, that is to rest with state and local governments. When we had this deal in Chicago, Chicago's been the murder capital of the world for years, despite the fact it's supposed to be a gun-free zone. It should be a paradise. Instead, people are getting shot to death every week, including children. And one of the congressmen from Chicago said, look, we need to get Department of Homeland Security in here to patrol the streets of Chicago. And that's the thing that spooked me, Darren, because it's right along, and I'll give you the last word here in a second, but it's right along the lines of what you are saying is the federalization of law enforcement. That's not something we want. We do not want the federal government. We do not want the federal government bringing arms and tanks into American cities. That is not what America is about. That's not what the military is for. And so I agree with you, Darren. I think we ought to be alarmed at the way in which we're getting this increasing federalization of law enforcement in the interior of the United States.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll just give you a point of hope, Brian. I'm a member of an infantry unit, a National Guard unit here in Arkansas, and I can assure you, there's no disillusion there. We kind of know what's going on, and hopefully we'll be the last line of defense before the government gets too close. So.
All right, Darren. Well, we are absolutely counting on you. Appreciate your call. Thank you very much for that. And the whole idea of state militias was to protect the internal security of that particular state. Not a lot of people realize we call them National Guard today, but the idea from the founders, and we'll do a little constitutional lesson on the Constitution here, Second Amendment. Remember, the idea behind the formation of the United States of America is that each one of the original 13 states was a sovereign and independent state in its own right. It was a state with a capital S. So the United States was plural up until the Civil War. The United States are, after the Civil War, with what President Lincoln did in pursuing war against the southern states, it became singular. The United States is. But prior to that, it was the United States, plural, of America. And realize the specific language of the Second Amendment. I'm going to read it to you right out of the Constitution. A well-regulated militia, listen to this, being necessary to the security of a free state with a capital S. That's not a reference to the United States government or the federal government. In other words, each state was to have the opportunity to build and develop a well-regulated militia to protect the security of that state. And a militia, a well-regulated militia, was necessary to the security of a free state. And so for that reason, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Now, the founders understood by the militia was the entire body of citizens. Every adult male between the ages of 18 and whatever was considered de facto to be a part of the militia. And you never knew when you'd have to bring them together in order for them to defend the security of that state. Defend it from whom? Well, it could be to defend it from incursion by an adjacent state. It could be to defend that state from the overreach of the federal government. If it were to come in and use arms against the citizens of a state, that's what a militia is for. Back in 2.